How do you get started as an editor?
I see a big mistake that lots of young filmmakers make is they go up to somebody and they say, let me just do anything.
We also talk about whether you need to go to film school to get experience.
Do you want to get yourself in potentially hundreds of thousands in debt, or do you want to just keep on reaching out with someone who's already in the film industry and learning from them?
But if you are a great filmmaker, how do you market yourself online?
They're gonna hit you up and they're gonna be like, okay, you've already proven that you can do what I need, so let's work together.
And also, this episode is sponsored by MrBeast Jobs. You have a chance to work with the internet's biggest creator. Don't miss it. Go to MrBeastJobs.com and apply today. And maybe you can get MrBeast to give you money. And a W-2 tax form.
So what do you have there?
So this is a Fidget cube. It looks a little bit annoying, probably sounds very annoying as well.
I love this.
But this is really useful. That's satisfying, isn't it?
This is the best one.
That's the best
The
one,
Switch.
yeah.
Oh.
That's really satisfying because, you know, when you're doing like the boring part of the editing, like the admin stuff, like trying to get the assembly edit or trying to get things synced up and that part of your brain, just like, hey, I want to do something creative now or I want to be distracted. When I'm not doing creative stuff, I need this. Otherwise, it will not get done that day.
What part of the brain does that
I think
help
there's like,
you?
the discussion is like, there's a left brain and a right brain.
Right.
And like the left brain kind of wants to do the fun stuff. And then the right side of the brain is like the practical stuff. You have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. But it's like the left side of the brain is like, no, I want to do this, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And some people have very good organic and natural discipline to be able to ignore the left side of the brain, which I think you have. I don't have that discipline. If you're giving the boring stuff, I have to make the conscious choice to ensure that I can focus. What I do is I put on some lo-fi music, put it quietly in the background, and I just have this. And I just fiddle. And then suddenly 3, 4, 5 hours later, I've done all like the boring part of the editing because I've kept the other part of my brain that doesn't want to do this focused.
I don't even know what I do during that part of the edit.
That looks like you've got the discipline to focus.
I just focus, I think.
I envy you.
That's crazy. I love that.
Welcome back to the Editing Podcast, the podcast where we talk about editing. Some interesting questions that we've gotten from viewers, elephant in the room questions that we may as well get these out the way at the start of this editing podcast journey.
I think the point of this podcast for me and for all of the listeners is I want you guys to be able to listen and have all of the questions that are asked that are more practical questions. Because I mean, we can sit and just talk about nerdy artistic editing stuff all the time.
yeah.
And while that's great, I know there's so many people with burning questions being like, how do I get a job? Is editing for me? How do you break into the industry? Do I make a reel? Do I not? Like all of those things are questions that just need to be talked about.
The first question that supports all of that is, how do we even get started?
How do you even get started? How do you even become an editor?
Yeah.
What is that?
How long have you been a professional editor now?
I graduated in 2019 and it's 2022. So I've been a professional editor for about 4 years. 4 or 5 years.
But what about the time when you were leading up towards becoming a professional?
I would literally find anybody that I could that was making videos.
Yeah.
And try to be friends with them. If there's something that you want to do, hang out with people that are already doing that thing because they are just going to rope you in. Become friends with those people because they are literally just going to rope you in.
And where do you find them? That's often the hard question, but knowing that there are people out there who are also potentially in the same camp as you.
Yeah.
I think if you suddenly find your calling to be an editor and then you start contacting the best creators on the platform, they're not going to give you the time of day yet. But I think potentially finding people who are in the same camp as you, the same skill development as you, or potentially even finding people who are already maybe a bit more ahead of you and then finding ways for them to invite you into that space as well. And then to an extent, you've started.
The reality is you have to find people with the same work ethic as you also at the same time, which is also a challenge because some people, there's varying levels of passion among the people who are trying to create together. And with filmmaking is such a collaborative medium that it is so hard to do it on your own. But I find out that, I mean, especially creators on YouTube, they'll just start making stuff on their own. They'll take their iPhone. They'll be like, all right, I'm going to go make a YouTube video.
Well, in that case, that means you need to be the beacon. If you have found the passion, if you have found the calling, I want to be a filmmaker, you start doing it, and then you start making those films by yourself, and then you show them to your friends, and then your friends go, oh, wait, that looks really fun.
Yep.
And now suddenly they go, hey, I want to be involved. And then suddenly you're now a director.
Yep.
I think sometimes it's just sending out the beacon in the same way that if you were to indicate in a car, suddenly the whole world responds, all the cars respond to your indication. Not so much in LA, but but I think in the same case, if you're able to indicate to everyone around you, hey, this is what I like doing, and then that passion is just very organically expressed, passion is so infectious, and they're going to want to be involved with what you're doing.
And that's why I think it's so important for people, especially because people are trying to figure out how to use social media too, especially when they're trying to become, good at something. Show off your passion on social media, and people will see that and they'll be like, oh, okay, I know that Jordan likes to edit because he's always posting about some stupid editing thing he's doing.
I mean, that's how we connected.
Everybody, that's how we connected. Yeah. And we're like, oh, do you like to edit? I like to edit. Look, let's freaking talk about it.
But the next question, though, let's just say you've done that. You've made your friends. You've spent a year or two or a couple months developing your skills, finding out if this is when you be a filmmaker. And then you're going, okay, no, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like for a long term, for maybe the majority of my life. I want to make this my career.
Yeah.
What do you do next?
I think it comes down to finding mentors and learning on your own. You have to have so much passion that it comes to a point that you're willing to do literally anything to learn. And learning is the most important part. And I see a big mistake that lots of young filmmakers make is they go up to somebody and they say, bro, let me do something for you. I will go plug in cables in for you. I'm going to go polish your shoes. Let me just do anything. And the problem with that is such a big turnoff. Have you ever gotten those messages?
I get those quite often, pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't really know what the value is that they offer. And they don't understand that when it's way more attractive and way more important to say, hey, here's what I can offer you, and then to ask for nothing in return. But in reality, what they're getting in return is learning, because that's the most valuable thing, is education and experience and even a connection, perhaps. But you have to come at whatever it is you're passionate about from a place of service. You have to say, hey, I'm a servant. I'm here to help you. And that's all that I'm here for.
Put your foot in the door in terms of getting the attention of someone who has the skills that you would like to learn from. Part of it is not saying I can do anything, but actually telling you, I want to do this for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that gets me a bit more interested. I think an anecdotal example, I would say, with what you should also do is how can you stand out amongst everyone else who has the same passions and ideas and aspirations as you? An anecdotal example for me is I wanted to intern for a film studios, and they were making really good content. They were making commercials to films, to TV, anything and everything was happening there. And I said, I want to get in. And they didn't have any intern positions or anything like that. But what I did do is that I wrote a handwritten letter. I drafted it up as an email first, wrote it as a handwritten letter, and then I went up to those film studios and I handed it to the receptionist. And then I left. 3 days later, I then got a call from the person who owns that film studios. That was amazing. Do you want to come intern for 2 weeks?
Wow.
And he then said, I get about 100 emails every single day about people asking to intern, and you're the only person who sent me something as a handwritten letter. Wow. And he says, that was initiative, and I like that, and so I want you to work with us for a little bit.
That's amazing.
Assume that you're not the only person asking to work with that person that day.
Please.
So you need to think of a smart way for you to stand out. Just that gesture of a potential transaction makes me go, actually, I like the sound of this kid. Come on board. Let me help you learn some things, and then we can probably make some great content together. But there is another way you can learn. And that is often people squirm at the word, which is weird because we both learned this way, film school. So film school, reason why it has some squirminess towards it is because the industry as film school is often looked at as outdated, or the teachers that you got on there they haven't made a film for 20 years and now they're going to teach you how to do TikTok. Or it's like that's how people seem to look at it. It's often considered a little bit outdated. However, I've always disagreed with that because for me, I was still developing as a filmmaker myself. I didn't quite know what I wanted to. This was when I turned 18. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do, and I wanted to give myself a bit more of an opportunity to figure that out. Now, granted, I was in England, which was significantly cheaper university fees, and so I had that benefit, I had that privilege, but I still chose to go to a film university for 3 years. That gave me the opportunity to really have the resources and lessons to make me go, actually, this is what I want to do with my career and my direction. Yeah. There is benefits to that. It can give you a really good buffer of finding that out if you don't know what that is yet.
There's a lot of magic around film school because it's an environment where you're forced to create. And I think that's the biggest advantage. And you're forced to create alongside of a bunch of other people that are also trying to figure it out and create together. And like we said earlier, you want to surround yourself with people who are on the same level as you and try to learn and make mistakes and grow together. And film school is a perfect place to do that. It's such a great controlled environment. So if you're able to afford the crazy price of it. Because I know lots of people like to talk about the money, the price of tuition, and it is absolutely ridiculous.
Or just go to European film school.
Or just... Bro, take notes from Hayden.
I mean, I said it as a joke, but actually maybe kind of seriously. That is the unfortunate problem with film school. It is, do you want to, again, correct me if I'm wrong, get yourself in potentially hundreds of thousands in debt? Yep. Or do you want to just keep on reaching out with someone who's already in the film industry and learning from them?
Yeah.
Both of those have those pros and those cons.
Yep.
I think the cons of potentially going into X pocket of industry is suddenly you then become, let's say, a commercial director.
Yeah.
And actually, or a commercial PA or a commercial gaffer. And then you're in that pocket. And then suddenly 10 years down the line, you went, wait, no, I wanted to be a music video gaffer.
Yeah.
But you don't know any music video people. So now you're stuck in that little corner because you committed too soon.
Yep.
I think that was the issue that I had. I didn't want to commit to a direction just yet. And that's why I had that buffer of film school to help me decide.
Yeah. And the reality is there's so many people that went through film school that they're my classmates that don't do anything with filmmaking. Yeah. And that's just the reality of a lot of people in film school is they go down that path. They say, is this for me? Is this something that I'm truly passionate about and that I'm willing to risk everything for? And people that weren't willing to risk everything, that's a mouthful.
We're keeping that one in. We're keeping that bit in. We cut out most of our outtakes, but we're keeping that one in.
The people that aren't willing to risk it, I mean, like, they didn't make it. So you have to fully commit and be so passionate.
But that comes back to, if you want to find the people who are passionate and you probably haven't quite found them yet, maybe going to the right film school is actually the next point.
Yeah.
How do you identify the right film school for you?
That's a great question because I did not look at schools for film school. Really. So I actually was going to school for football. I was a kicker for American football. Yeah. So I was getting recruited and looking at all kinds of schools all around the country just to play sports. So that was I wasn't even interested in filmmaking before film school.
Wait, is this American football or soccer?
American football.
All right, fine. Continue your point anyway. I'll judge you internally.
I just ended up there because they had a film school program. So, I mean, it very well, I don't really know. I haven't been to another film school. So it very well might have been just complete garbage. But the thing is, like I said earlier, the thing that's great about film school is it forces you, it literally lights a fire under your butt to start making stuff.
You're now under obligation.
Yeah.
If you don't have the discipline yourself, putting yourself in film school will now put you under the obligation to try and make the best content that you can to become a good filmmaker.
Exactly.
So I think I like that. So maybe it's a good place to learn the disciplines of the film industry if you haven't quite picked those up just yet. Those 3 years that I had was just pure experimentation.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the resources to get out a cinema camera. I wasn't able to get a Red camera, which was like the big boy camera at the time. But my university had a big old rental shop that was free. Yeah. So as long as you booked ahead in advance, I was able to take out a Red Dragon and off I went. Film absolute garbage stuff, but I got to learn and feel how it felt to be a filmmaker. And then the next time I rented it out, I then actually was able to shoot something great with it.
Exactly.
I think potentially if it's able to give you access to the equipment that you weren't able to do and then access to the people for you to then learn with and for everyone to make mistakes together, this is the place for you to be.
Yeah.
And it really does come down to up to you and your choice of where you feel like is the best place for you to develop as a filmmaker.
Yeah, it's for sure 100% a personal decision. And where you're at, financially, where you're at in your education. I knew nothing going into film school. I knew literally nothing about filmmaking at all. I had hardly watched any movies. And because of that, I got so much value out of it. Yeah. But if you've been educating yourself on cinema and filmmaking and everything, if you've been watching Hayden's videos for a long time, you're not going to get as much about film school because they're going to talk about, some similar things. So for me, it was lovely.
So we are the proof in the pudding that film school can work. But then we also can look into other filmmakers today who have shunned film school, like never ever do it, and they're also great.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by there's no right or wrong. It really does come down to the path that feels the most organic for you. And if you feel like you're able to make the right decision, you should trust yourself in doing that.
Absolutely.
I was interested in the fact that you were mentioning people messaging you like, hey, can I work for you? Can I work for this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? And I get that as well. Hey, can I come work for you? I can do anything. And for us, it's difficult for us to decipher what is the best thing for those people. But the ones that get me more interested and actually maybe giving you like a second thought. Second thought's a bit rude, but I would say I'd say looking into, okay, actually, let's see if there's something for us to work together. Yeah. I see a reel. If you send me a reel, that makes it go, okay, I'll give this a watch. I ingest information visually. If you give me a big wall of text, I'm not going to read it.
Yeah.
So if you give me a reel of the best stuff that you can do, that makes me go, okay. But however, though, there's one thing I've noticed. How do you actually make an edit reel?
The question that I even have is that even a thing that people look at anymore? Because I know you've said that you have. You love looking at reels and you love seeing almost like, I don't know, a 1 to 2 minute section of a compilation of footage. And I think if I was to do that, which I'm also saying I don't even know if that's even relevant anymore, but if I was to do that as an editor, I think it comes down to telling a story with random bits of footage that you have, showing off your chops, showing off like what's the cool stuff that you can do. But I think it really comes down to what is the job that you're wanting. And that's what I think there's the problem of reels, is because you can't make a 2-minute thing that's going to say, okay, hey, I'm the best music video documentary YouTube a narrative filmmaker that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Here is why in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Because every medium of filmmaking is so different and they require such different skill sets that, I don't know, I feel like handing me a 2-minute piece and being like, hey, here's this. I mean, that's all about the amount of time that I have.
I've probably only got 30 seconds, actually.
Honestly, yeah.
I make my choice within the first 5 seconds. And so you got to convince me to keep watching within the first 5 seconds. And for me, if your reel can actually convince me to keep watching after the first 5 seconds, that already gives you a 500% higher chance of me potentially hiring you. Because those first 5 seconds is what's important. For me, one example I do remember is this one creator who is fantastic. Her name Valentina V. She made a show reel, and she had Jason Statham and Dwayne Johnson. And Dwayne Johnson says to Jason Statham, yeah, she's great. She's a great filmmaker. 3, 2, 1. And I'm like, oh my God, having Dwayne Johnson say, I'm not saying get Dwayne Johnson to say that. That's probably impossible. But that made me go, ooh. And then that made me watch the whole thing straight away. That, I think, is probably a really good example. Get me hooked with the first 5 seconds. That proves your value straight away.
Here's a question. When you're looking for reels and if you have somebody submit a reel, what kind of job are they usually applying for you?
This is a really tough question because here's the issue that we're having. I've had the privilege of not having to make a reel for the past 7 years.
Yeah.
My reel is what I've already marketed on social media. That's it.
This is what I'm saying, bro. Do you need a reel?
Oh my... I'm getting old-fashioned, Jordan. It's not just a reel anymore, isn't it? It's your page, your Instagram page, your Twitter, your YouTube channel.
Your collection of work is what I'm finding.
Oh, how have I only just realized this?
Because that's what I'm saying. When you're making a 2-minute piece, and you're saying, hey, this is all my value as a storyteller, as a creator, is packed into these 2 minutes. Like, if you can do that, that's great. That's awesome. But I honestly don't really care that much. I really care, can you do the job that I have for you?
Yeah.
And have you done that before? So that's why I think, when you're looking at Instagram, when you're looking at somebody's portfolio website, when you're looking at their credits, that's what their reel is now. Because you're saying, okay, Hayden has edited for Logan Paul. He's made some bangers. I've seen that. So I know that you're going to be able to make an incredible YouTube video every single time.
Yeah.
That's what your reel is. Your reel is, okay, I have all these credits with Logan. I have these videos.
It's just, I can't believe it's right in front of me this whole time. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think my reel is my YouTube channel. I make content where I talk about my editing breakdowns. I make content where I'm able to share, or I'm able to use my social pages to share content that I have been involved in, being able to literally credit myself. Hey, I was the editor on this. And that became my reel, and that is why I fortunately have a high demand of people that I would like to work with.
Everybody wants to work with you.
Yeah. It's right.
It's true.
That is so silly. I just realized that. But what's also an interesting realization is that about 2 months ago, I was again scrolling through my Instagram feed and I saw a really amazing sound mix. She did this amazing sound mix of like someone building a skateboard. And I went, that's great. So I then went onto her profile, sent her a message, hey, it's really good. Would you want to come sound mix some of my content? And then that's how she got work. You use experiences that you have, get screenshots of your timeline, give me your breakdowns and put that on social media. and then essentially try to tag it and hyper-focus that I will be the one to find it. Or the people that you want to work with will be the ones that will stumble upon your content, so much so that I find you rather than you having to come to me. I go to you.
And that's why I think, like we were saying earlier, it's so important to post what you're passionate about on social media, because then those people that will see your work and see like, okay, that was an excellent job, that the way you edited that, the way that she sound mixed that.
Yeah.
And they're going to hit you up and they're going to be like, okay, you've already proven that you can do what I need.
Yeah.
So let's work together.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can make it happen.
I think that's the modernization of the Reels.
Yeah.
I hired that woman because it was sound design.
Yep.
She chose a specific skill set and she doubled down on that skill set and she got really, really great at that skill set, so much so that she was able to get a job. I think both of us, we doubled down on being editors.
Yep.
And then learning how to be storytellers through editing. But I think in most cases, if you probably were to give us a camera, we might not have that much of an idea of what to do.
Yeah.
We doubled down on those skills. But then I also do see other filmmakers who are able to do a little bit of everything and able to do everything pretty competently. But then that's it, just competently, but nothing a special skill set. And so I think the question I do want to ask you is, the phrase is, do you want to be a jack of all trades and master of none?
Sometimes you just don't be a jack.
Don't be a jack.
Don't be a jack. And maybe be a master of one.
Be a master of one.
A master of none.
Don't be a jack, be master of one. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to when you look at the amount that those people get paid and the amount that people that specialize down get paid, and or just the value that they have to the marketplace. Because when you have a specific problem and you need it solved, you're going to go to the person that solves that problem consistently, and you're going to be fully confident that they can do that. And there is definitely a market for people that can do it all, that they can film and do everything, but they're getting the jobs from the people that have no money, from the people that have super low budgets, that they're like, okay, dude, I got $500, I need a whole video. Who am I going to go to? The person that can do everything okay. They're going to get that job.
Yeah.
But I have 10 grand and I need the best freaking thing that I need edited, like, of all time. I'm going to go to one of the best editors I can find, and they're going to get that 10 grand, but they're only literally doing one thing.
And then once you get good at that craft, it then comes back to what we were talking about earlier, finding other masters of that specific craft.
Yep.
If you're an editor, go find a director.
Yep.
If you're a director, go find a sound mixer.
It's time to make
if
the
you're
dream
a director,
teams.
If you're a director, go find a cinematographer.
Yep.
That's pretty much the next step of the career. You got to find that dream team. You got to find that team who already have other skill sets and other things that you don't have the skills for, but you can go to that team and say, hey, here's my value. Here's what I can bring to this developing dream team. And I think those opportunities are everywhere. One of the things I've always found so fascinating, and especially even with the space that I'm in, or like, I like to see MrBeast, one of the biggest creators on the platform. He's not a creator. He is a film studio.
Yeah.
He has film lots. He has directors. He has cinematographers. He has gaffers. He has PAs. He has anything and everything that you need in a film lot and a film studio. He is always, always hiring because of the expansion that he is wanting to do as the director of all of those operations. He's in charge. And so I think it's always best to assume creators like MrBeast are always looking for people to join that team.
Absolutely.
I know that for a fact. That's what I'm trying to say. He's always messaging me. Do you know any editors? Do you know any editors? Do you know any cameramen? Do you know any directors? Please, I need to find more people.
Yeah.
There is always a job in big operations. And I think if you're able to just do a little bit of investigating and finding out potentially what they are missing or what you think you can bring to that table, high chance you already have the skills to potentially be joining that team. If you have that skill set, go join the dream team that already have the best skill sets as directors, writers, cinematographers, and go join that team.
Absolutely. People are always looking for people.
Yes.
It's literally everywhere. And just talking about the demand of editing, I know there's lots of people that are looking at maybe becoming editors, maybe people that are listening to this, and they're like, dude, I don't know. I mean, editing sounds fun. It sounds cool, but is that job reliable? Is that like a thing that people are really looking for? And I think you literally just saying, bro, MrBeast will hire you right now.
Yeah.
If you just say, hey, I'm so skilled in this thing. I'm a master of this thing. MrBeast is like, I'm looking for masters to join the team. So let's make it happen.
Those masters exist. Jimmy doesn't know they exist. And so you have to tell Jimmy that you exist.
Yep.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that link in the description.
Do it.
Yeah. Okay, if you want a job with MrBeast, literally go apply right now under the description. Stop this podcast and go apply right now.
I know there's some freaking masters listening right now.
Yeah,
that they're ready.
And I bet you they could transform MrBeast content to be fantastic. Go do that, basically.
Go do it. Pause the episode.
Yep, that's it.
We're actually going to introduce a little bit of a new segment, which I'm really excited about. And the reason that we want to create this podcast, like I said earlier, is to help people understand the job of editing and what it actually takes to be an editor and how to get there.
Yeah.
So we've asked you all a few questions, and so we're gonna, just do a quick fire and Q&A, and Hayden with his absolutely amazing Gandalf wisdom is gonna let us know.
I would grow a big Gandalf beard, but this is literally as long as it gets. Throw me one right now.
All right. Is it frustrating to edit?
Yes. Next question.
Wait, no, I want to be honest and super candid on this podcast too. And even talking about, because, you and I, we sell editing all the time as an amazing job because it is. And we truly believe that.
Yeah.
But what are the things that actually make you frustrated about editing sometimes?
I think here's the best way of explaining it. We love editing because we look at the results and it's bloody beautiful, but it was very frustrating getting there.
Yeah.
That's the issue. I think it's the hard part of getting to the point where it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But then also that can be part of the most beautiful experience. But then there is moments where you genuinely do not know what to do. Or you're trying to make your cut do this and it's just not working.
Yeah.
Or you want to do this and you simply don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And we still get that, and that's the frustrating part. If you're frustrated and you're not quite getting it, that means there is something that you're trying to get, a new level of skill that you're trying to get.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest problem with editors, and I talk about this all the time, is when you're an editor, you're making a choice, and people are hiring you for the choices that you're making because they like your taste.
Yeah.
So if you're frustrated because you're not getting to the level of expertise that you're trying to get to, that means that you're on the right path.
Yeah, I like that. I think the best way of explaining it is most content is 24 frames per second. That means you're making 24 decisions a second.
Somebody write that down.
Dang. Here's an interesting one, and I think we've probably both struggled with these.
Oh, yeah.
What's it like working for a high-profile creator/celebrity in terms of stress, deadlines, and ego?
Ooh, that's a good question. Ego is a huge thing.
Ego is a huge thing.
Ego is a huge. I really want to talk to you about ego.
Yeah. What's that supposed to mean?
Dude, because you work with the...
I thought you were referring at my ego for a second.
Not your ego, bro. The people that you work with, crazy. But I think it's, it's definitely stressful, but I love stress, and that's kind of weird. But I do. I thrive on high pressure situations because it feels like that I'm doing something important, and there's something about my personality that needs to be doing something that's very important at all times.
Yeah.
And so I think, I just feel alive during those high stress situations.
Yeah.
And the reward and the dopamine that you get after getting through there unscathed, alive, is actually, I don't know, it's an addicting feeling, I think.
I've definitely had a clash of egos in terms of my ego or against the egos of the people that I have worked with as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think so much so that I think, I've had huge creative differences, and I have put myself in a lot of trouble by putting up the fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think that is my mistake as a professional, because, they might trust me with a lot of decisions and they might give me the luxury of making a lot of decisions myself. But the thing that I sometimes struggle with when I'm in the heat of the moment, when I'm very passionate about the content, is actually they've hired me. And so they get the final say.
Yeah.
And there are times when I have fundamentally disagreed with people that I've worked with. And I have put up the fights, and I think that is me being honestly a very unprofessional. And so sometimes, unfortunately, in most cases, you have to swallow your pride. You have to swallow your ego, because they're the ones who have hired you to do work for them.
I think it really comes down to following the money trail. So
Yeah.
if you're getting hired, if you're being paid, whoever is paying is ultimately the keeper of the vision and the keeper of whatever the product it is that you're making. And your job as an editor, I've heard this said once, and I keep this near and dear to my heart, but your job as an editor is to be the protector of the director and the executor of the director's vision.
Yeah.
And so for you, it's a little bit different because you actually end up directing a lot of the stuff that you make, with the nature of the content being on YouTube and just being a little bit different than traditional media.
Yeah.
But for me, when I'm working on music videos, on commercials, I am always trying to figure out what's in the director's brain and pull out the best version of that and putting it on the screen.
You have to replace the director's ego, grab his ego and put it on yours.
Yeah.
And you have to be the director's ego. And so you have to anticipate what they want, who they are, and what they want their content to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. That's an interesting insight. I've just realized that, yeah. I got to adopt their ego. That's it. Drop your ego and adopt theirs.
Adopt their ego.
All right, you throw me another question.
If you ever get unmotivated and you don't want to do an editing job, how do you get yourself motivated again?
Callbacks, baby. I think what it is, it does come back to what we literally said at the start, where if you're unmotivated, that is your brain telling you, I don't want to do this. And so you have to find ways to potentially get yourself excited or trick your brain into doing the thing that you don't want to do.
That's funny.
Here's an example. I didn't want to record this podcast today, didn't I?
Me either.
Yeah, I was texting you like, hey, can we film this tomorrow? I'm a little tired. I was up until 4 a.m. But then I realized what motivated me is actually we have a decent vision of what this podcast can be.
Yeah.
And then that meant we actually have to work hard to get it there.
Yeah.
And I reluctantly said, all right, let's film this. And actually, I've had a great time doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that could probably that's the hard part. Sometimes you don't realize that there's a fun part after the hard part.
And sometimes you don't even realize that the whole thing is fun at some level, because there's so many times I'm like, oh, bro, I got to edit this thing. And I hate it. But then the moment that my fingers touch the keyboard, I'm like, this is the most fun thing ever. I love this.
Yeah. You have to cater towards and accept the fact that you're unmotivated and make the decision to go, how can I challenge this motivation? But then the irony is you don't have to find a motivation to challenge your motivation.
That's a mouthful.
But by identifying that you are unmotivated as part of the process and challenging your lack of motivation, it's a whole circle there. But that's what I mean. I think, but part of it is simply acknowledging you're unmotivated and going, what can I do about this? Here's the one that someone's asking. I want to know about storytelling and how to exploit the algorithm of YouTube. It's an interesting question because it's like the word that I'm finding a bit weird there is exploit.
Oh, yeah.
Exploit the algorithm.
Or hack.
Or hack the algorithm.
Trick.
Maybe those are the buzzwords, trick the algorithm. I think that's an interesting question because the big thing that a lot of us have come to the realization of is the algorithm is a response of human data. So what you're essentially saying is, how can I exploit humans? Doesn't that sound weird?
Yeah.
And so you have to start thinking the algorithm is actually what your audience is responding to. And so if your video isn't doing so well in the algorithm, it meant it hasn't done well with the people who have watched your content, which means that you need to make your content better and more entertaining and more engaging for them. And yes, you can use storytelling strategies, you can use retention strategies, but even the word strategy is a bit of a questionable word. How can you just make me care is my rule. But I think exploiting the algorithm is the wrong attitude. And I think you exploring the idea of how can I make my audiences care? And then once you get that, that's exploiting the algorithm, I guess. Was that a bit of a rude way to end it? I think
no, that was perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's literally, this is why I love you so much, Hayden. Hayden is always on the cutting edge of whatever people, the buzzwords of YouTube, exploiting the algorithm. Because that's the reality of the situation. Is the reason that my videos getting views or not getting views is because of the algorithm ultimately. But like you said, the algorithm is made up of human responses to your content. Yeah. You just now have to learn about humans. You have to learn about their brain. You have to learn about what people like. Why do people care? How freaking make somebody care?
You have to make people have that positive emotional experience. And the algorithm goes, that was great for humans. I want to give it to more humans.
Exactly.
That's all the algorithm is essentially doing.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add to that. That was perfect. How do you overcome seasons of no work?
Make your own content. If you're not working, use that opportunity to improve your skills. And then once you improve your skills, you'll then be able to get better work.
Was there ever a time where that was a reality for you?
I think the best example for me would be with my career with Logan Paul. There were times when he was training for a boxing fight. And then what that meant is that was his main focus. And I wouldn't have anything to edit for 3 to 4 months. So what did I do? I started making my own content. I even started studying. I was reading books for like the first time in my life again. I studied and I learned to get better. And what that then meant is that I was then able to build up my own skills to then start getting better work or being able to deliver better work. If you're not working and you're in a decent financial place, study and get better.
Do you think that learning is just as important as doing?
Yes. I think 65% of doing is better education, but to be able to have the ability to learn on that 65% is by essentially studying.
And so if some people on here are listening and they want to study, where should they start?
First of all, you can subscribe to Hillier Smith.
Come on, somebody subscribe. Somebody in the chats.
Also, subscribe to your channel as well. Make sure to subscribe to This Editing Podcast. There are courses for you to buy as well, or even free courses. Studying and thinking and reading. You can read books. One of the most important ones for me has been Steve Holfish's The Art of the Cut. That book, he interviewed all of the editors across all of the industry and asked them the same question, and they all had unique answers, and that gave me so much knowledge. Oh, this quote's interesting, or this idea is interesting. Let me try it myself. I tried it myself, and then I didn't learn because of that new source of inspiration. If you have the opportunity where work slows down a little bit and you're financially okay, study and learn, and where you can learn is everywhere.
And make sure to save some money if work is slow, so you can have the opportunity to do that.
If you are a freelancer, do not, just because you got a big bag one month doesn't mean you're going to get it the next month. And so actually you got to make sure you budget what you already have. So therefore, when there is low work, you have the opportunity to study.
Yeah, guys, studying is so freaking important. And I'm even taking that as a learning myself. I just need to hop on The Art of the Cut.
Yeah.
I gotta get on that book.
Give that book a read. Hopefully we can get an affiliate link in the description.
Dude, that would be sweet.
We can talk about that on another time. Maybe that's the next episode. We talk about that book.
Oh, baby, let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much for listening in and watching. We really appreciate it. Keep on editing. We haven't even got an outro catchphrase, do we? Do we even need one?
We don't even need one, bro.
Yeah, should we just end it?
Just end it.